Welcome back to the Hive, or if you're new, welcome. By clicking on this episode, you've entered our Hive, a space where we can geek out about movies, TV, books, music, celebrities, and decide whether our topic of the week is a pop culture high or low. This is Hives and Lows. Oh.
I know, I had to stop myself.
Now it's sad,
I
so we
know.
can't.
I can't do it anymore. I have to find a
You
new
did not, in
steam.
fact, do it.
I need to find a new
Um,
STEM thing to say. I used to say valid a lot, and I still say it, but okay. Anyway.
yeah. Okay. Well, this week we were like, what? We need to find something for culture catch up, but truly our topic was what happened this past weekend. Well, for us this past weekend.
I think for the whole world, let's be honest.
So it was, yeah, I mean, that's all I'm seeing still.
Yeah.
And I was like, we were like, okay, we got to try to find stuff. But nope, it's pretty much just what happened. And that is Glicked Weekend.
Oh, yes, we're
Woo,
using Glicked.
Glicked.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, I was
that's
like,
that's the confirmed one, right? Cuz
I think so.
yeah, cuz Ariana
I hope
Grande
so.
and Cynthia said that that's the better one
Yeah,
for
Glicked or
Glicked.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I prefer it too. The other one was crazy.
Yeah, it was like Wickednator, and I was like, that does not
Yeah.
work.
No. No, no, no. Yeah, no, this is better.
Mhm.
But I saw both. Um, you did not.
I'm sorry, everyone. I tried. I at least I watched Glicked 1, aka I watched Gladiator 1, and then I
Yeah.
never got time to watch Gladiator
I
2. I'm sorry to my
yeah, I saw
Ridley Scott
Gladiator
fans.
2 2 days ago at 10 p.m. and that movie is long, so I did not get out of the movie theater. Like, it was past midnight. I was so tired, and the movie's so long, you know when you're already tired and a movie is long and you're just like you're
Yes.
just like, I was enjoying it, but at the same time, I was like, "Wrap it up." Like, I was so tired. It's not the movie's fault. It's my fault. But I gave it a 3.5 out of 5
That
stars.
that's what I gave the original. So,
Yeah. Yeah, my dad, who's like, a big fan of the original, he was like, "Yeah, it was good." Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it was good. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, do you mind if I go through
Yeah,
stuff
I
that
don't
happened?
care.
Because I was just gonna go through the plot.
You can
There's gonna be
spoil it.
spoilers for both Gladiator 2 and Wicked, by the way. So if wanna watch both with no spoilers, then maybe go watch those and then come back, uh, and then have a discussion with us about it. But yeah, so Gladiator 2 takes place when Lucius, played by Paul Mescal, who is Maximus's illegitimate living child, so
Okay.
not the one who died, the one
That
that he was like, "Lucius is safe."
Yeah, I have a
Remember?
question about that.
Okay.
um so her child in the beginning in
Lucilla's child.
is his child.
Yes.
Okay, personally I don't like that, but we'll see with
Okay.
Gladiator 2 where
Yeah,
that goes.
like, it's not uh, I have some issues, but whatever. What there's it's Paul Mescal, and that makes it better. But, it starts with him as an adult, and he is married, to some lady,
Oh, that's
and
not
the
gonna end well.
second I saw her on screen, I said, "She's dead." Whatever's about to happen in the next 10 minutes, she's dead. Because it was a little too happy. And then General Acacius, who is Pedro Pascal, he invades where Lucius is living, with the Roman army and conquers the city and kills Paul Mescal's wife. So basically, they're fighting, and um, she kills somebody who's near General Acacius with like an arrow, and then he specifically orders them to kill her. So it was like a very specific like attack.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's this weird scene that's very Ridley Scott where it's all in black and white and it's like the afterlife sort of thing.
Mhm.
And yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And like she's there and she's like, "I'll wait for you," to Paul Mescal, and yeah. Um Listen,
Sorry.
I can appreciate it for what it is. Like I don't love it. However, I'm like I feel like I'm watching the other movie and I
Yeah,
liked that.
yeah, like, that's the similar tone to the like, even though
Yes,
there's
I
been a
loved
large
that.
time gap, like, these films like, you could watch them both back
Yes.
to back
It
and not
felt very
notice.
unified.
Okay.
Exactly, it felt very unified tonally, and I enjoyed that. As much as I don't really love the Ridley Scott choices, I'm like, "But I feel like I'm watching Gladiator," and I'm like, "Yeah." So, yeah, so Lucius' wife dead, and Pedro Pascal, General Cassius, did it. Um, so
Oh, no.
then because as the Roman army does, they took everybody in the town as slaves. Um, but yeah, I one of the things I wrote down in my notes is I was like, I knew the wife would die immediately, very obvious. um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so Lucius is a slave, and at some point they like make him fight monkeys or something. And my dad was so funny during this. He leaned over to me. So he's got a friend, like Lucius has a friend who's like with him or whatever, and he's hurt and he obviously doesn't want to be living anymore. And Lucius is like, "No, we got this. We're going to get through this together." And my dad leaned over and was like, "Maximus had a little black friend too."
See, okay, I was low-key thinking the same thing. Because does that character die? His friend?
Yes, immediately.
Okay, well, that's the thing I didn't have like, the thing if you said that, I was like, at least in the original, like, his friend survives even past him, and I like that
Well,
character.
oh,
Oh.
by the way, just a heads up, my dad is black. That was, like, a weird thing to come out of somebody who isn't black's mouth. My dad is black.
No,
Um,
yeah,
but
no,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So he dies pretty immediately, but I didn't really feel the weight of it because we didn't get to see them, like, be
Yeah,
friends.
'cause,
So
like
I was like, "Oh, okay." But it was, like, during the baboon fight, and I think that, like, gives him I don't know, like, he fights I think it's the one that killed his friend, that he, like, fights off and he, like, kills the baboon, and then Denzel Washington, I'm not gonna try to pronounce the name. He I literally stared at it and I could not think of what they were how they were saying it in the movie, and I was like, "Well, he's gonna be Denzel." So then Denzel is like, "Oh, I like him. Let's get him into this gladiator situation." So then they grab Paul, Lucius, and he's like, "What do you want?" And Lucius is like, I want to kill Acacius. I want that." And so then he's like, "I promise you if you win enough fights, I will give you the opportunity to do that." So that is like what the thing is like
Okay.
he's like, "If you win enough gladiator battles, then I'll give you the opportunity to I'll make it happen." So then it's like we cut to like Acacius has like this well, this is before that, but whatever. Acacius has this like big like welcome because he conquered a bunch of stuff and then he comes back. He doesn't seem very happy about it. Like you could tell he's just like, eh. And then we get to Joseph Quinn and Fred Hershinger as the 2 best characters, not morally, but they
Like,
are
watching.
so funny. They are twin brothers who are the emperors. Their names are Gaeta and Carcella, I think, which are 2 actual Roman emperors, but they were not, like, brothers or anything. But so they're nuts. They're crazy. But they're like, yeah, well, they're like, welcome, you did it. You're doing this for Rome. And then Acacius is like, I want a vacation with my wife, who is Lucilla from the first movie, who is Paul Mescal's mother. So Paul Mescal is like, I'm killing my stepdad. That's basically what it is.
So it's no wait. I was gonna say it's Oedipus but without the incest. But I don't think yeah, okay.
So like yeah. But okay, and then also I just want to say this because I wrote this down in my notes. They put a little white suit on Pedro, and that, oh my gosh, they made him wear it multiple times. And I was like, keep him in it the whole time. He looked so good. He looked so good. I leaned over to my cousin. I was like, they better have him in this for the whole movie. It was an amazing outfit. But anyway, I literally wrote, I was like, Pedro's white outfit. But they so then they're like they have a rhino fight for the gladiators or whatever. Yeah. And you know the scene in the first Gladiator where Maximus like picks up the dirt in the arena?
Yep.
So they do that with Paul Mescal, but it's for a purpose. It's not like he's just like picking it up. He like throws it in the air and then the rhino gets like disoriented. Lucilla sees this and is immediately like, "Oh, that's my kid." So then there's like a flashback to her sending him away.
Okay.
Um and she basically just like puts him on a horse and is just like, "Go." Um,
Okay.
so then there's that. They when he throws the like dust in the air, by the way, the rhino smacks into the wall and his horn breaks. I was so sad
That
for it.
I always feel bad for the animals that are in those gladiator fights.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
he
the
didn't die, but his
okay,
like
that's
horn
good.
was broken off, and I was like, "Oh no." They do a cool like naval battle. So that was cool because they really did that. They filled the Colosseum up with water back in the day and they did little like boat battles.
Insane.
Yeah, which is crazy. They did that in this and that was cool. Um and then so at some point because Lucilla's like they don't like the emperors. So at some point Lucilla is like, that's my kid, and tells Acacius. And Acacius is like, okay. Um, so what we're gonna try to do is conspire with senators to overthrow the emperors.
Who's
Uh,
Cassius again? Is that
Pedro,
that's Petro. Okay,
the
thank you.
general. Yeah. So he's like, so we're gonna rescue Lucius from slavery. Also, was the thing. Um, so one of the senators is a snitch and was like, okay, I owe Denzel money, and tips him off about it. And to gain like favor from the emperors, Denzel goes and like rats on Lucilla and Acacius to the emperors.
Oh my god, the
And then they get
drama.
arrested for treason. And then Denzel's like, this is perfect because what I can do now is uphold my end of the deal with Paul Mescal, with Lucius, and throw Pedro into a gladiator fight with him so that he could kill him. So then that's what they do, and that's what the big fight that's like all over all the trailers and stuff. We're not even into the movie, by the way, and this fight happens. I was like, man, this is quick. Um, so they're like, so he's like, so this will just be a one-on-one battle, and it's just gonna be Lucius and Acacius, and they're making Lucilla watch. Yeah, it's awful. And so then at some point, Acacius is like telling him like stuff in the arena, and then Lucius decides not to kill Acacius,
Okay.
even though the emperors, they can decide whether mercy or not. So he decides not to, and then the emperors tell the guards to do it. And I'm not kidding, a million arrows straight into Pedro Pascal.
Oh,
I'm not
please tell
kidding.
me.
They literally came through every direction. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
Did how did your theater respond?
My theater was like mainly like older men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they were all like, "Oh." I was the only one who was like, "No, they killed him this early."
Yeah.
So then back to Denzel, we're quickly realizing, oh, Denzel's the villain in this movie.
Okay.
Because what happens is he's like wants to get close to the emperors. So he gets close to them, but he's like they're unfit to be running things. So the crazier one is Fred Hershinger.
Okay.
He has a monkey, by the way. And
Yes,
that
I heard about
monkey
this.
is the cutest little thing. Oh my gosh. Every time it was on screen, I was like, I'm not hearing a word coming out of anybody's mouth. They put her in these little dresses and it's so cute. And it's just like she's always like on his shoulder and it's so cute. But they get into like an argument, uh the twins, the emperors. And so then Denzel's like, "Great, now's my chance." And so then he tells the crazier one, oh, they do a line by the way, which is hilarious, which is Joseph Quinn's emperor says about Fred Hershinger's emperor. He goes, so, forgive my brother. He has a disease in his loins and it's spread to his brain.
I just I just want to ask Joseph Quinn, how did he feel reading that and saying that?
Oh, the wig that he had on? Crazy. It was crazy. I turned to my cousin and I was like, "The wig that Joseph Quinn has on right now," and he was like, "I was literally just about to say something about it." Um, but Denzel manipulates Fred Hershinger to kill Joseph Quinn and he does it.
Okay.
So then after that, because he's crazy, this is the funniest. This is the funniest thing. Prepare for what I am about to say. They have a council meeting because they're like with the senators and with the emperor, now just one emperor because the other one died. So they're like, "What do we do?" And he's like, "Okay, this is a meeting where I'm going to say who's going to be my second counsel. This is his right-hand man." He goes,
Oh no.
"My second counsel will be Dondis." And then they hard cut to the monkey.
That's so relatable.
I'm
Not
not
gonna lie.
kidding. They hard cut to the monkey in Joseph Quinn's seat. And she's like in her little dress eating like fruit and stuff, chilling. And I'm like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. What do you mean the monkey is in charge? And then he's like, and my second counsel or my third counsel or whatever will be Denzel. So he's behind the monkey. So it's literally the monkey and then Denzel.
So I'm guessing that monkey is not gonna make it to the end.
I don't know what happens to the monkey. I don't know what happens to the monkey. So basically, the guy walks out.
Well,
The
yeah.
emperor walks out. And so then Denzel goes to the senators who are all still in the room and goes, "So no, we're going to have to overthrow."
Okay.
so that's not happening. So we know what we need to do. So basically, Lucilla has already tried to go talk to Lucius once, and he kind of blew up on her because he remembers her, but he's like, "Lucius is dead. I'm not Lucius." Like, that sort of thing where he's like, "I'm mad at you. I'm not your kid." Um, but they end up reconciling because Lucilla's like gonna be sent to death because of the, yeah, of the treason. um, so they're like, "We have to kill Denzel, he's behind this." Um, so Lucilla informs Lucius that Maximus is his father because he didn't know that. He only knew that Lucilla was his mother.
Mhm.
So then she has a ring. She has Maximus's ring and she gives it to him. The next 20 minutes of this movie is just for people who loved Gladiator. It's just fan service. From
Okay.
the moment that she's like, "You are Maximus's son," to the next like 20 minutes is just fan service because she gives him his ring and then he's down in his little cell and he makes a friend he makes friends with a medic that's down there and he's like, "I need you to like help me," and like, "I'm Maximus's son," or whatever, and then he shows him like down in this like below the Colosseum. They're like, "This is where" they're like, "This is where we store all of our like artifacts and stuff from our most like rebellious gladiators or whatever." And so Maximus is his armor is there and other things from the first movie are there. And then Paul Mescal has a little moment with the armor and then he takes it and he puts it on. Yeah, it's a whole thing. I'm not kidding. This movie has such slow moments. And I'm like, geez, like, can we move it along? And that was one of those moments. Like, he takes time to like touch the armor and like it's a whole thing. And I'm like, you didn't even know him. I have more of an emotional connection to Maximus than you do. um, so Lucilla is then like brought into the Coliseum and they put her on this float thing, like in the arena, and then they prop up all the senators like around her, like they tie like them to the float. And what is going to happen is they're going to force the gladiators to kill them,
The senators?
the senators and her and Lucilla. Yeah. So basically the medic has the keys to everybody's cells so he can go in and like fix them and everything. So then Lucius is like, "Help me, give me the keys," and he lets everyone out and they all go and kill the guards and stuff. Like they
Mhm.
kill all the people who are supposed to like go kill the senators like with, you know. So then I don't know. He has like his father's sword and stuff. It's a whole thing. And then so he rallies, with the gladiators to defend Lucilla, and then Denzel kills the other uh what's his name? The
The
other
emperor?
emperor.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's in a way that I can do like blood, guts, gore and stuff. He like shoves like a spike into his ear. Yeah, cuz he's doing it at like while the battle is happening. So he's trying to do it like, inconspicuously. And so then he shoves like a spike in his ear. I hated that. Didn't want to see it ever
Ooh.
again. I have no idea what happens to the monkey. It's just not there anymore. And I'm like,
Really,
"Done
Scott? These are important questions that
this."
you did not answer. Where's the monkey?
Did and I wasn't paying attention. I was so sleepy. I was like half asleep at this point. Um, so then they're like Lucilla and Lucius have a moment. He's like saved her or whatever, and they have a moment where they're like, "Oh, okay." But then I'm like, this is why you have moments after you're out of the arena because Denzel shoots an arrow and kills Lucilla like in Lucius's arms. And then Denzel's like, "I'm out," and flees.
You know what? Good for him.
um, but then
Oh, no.
uh, Lucius finds out and like goes and chases him.
Okay.
And then there's a fight. This is like the main battle. There's a fight where they're on horses or whatever, and then um, they fall into some water. My dad was fully asleep next to me. He wakes up right whenever they cut off Denzel's arm. He like cuts
He
off
got
Denzel Washington's arm, and my dad goes, I just hear him go, "Oh, what happened?" Because he didn't
he
see
he
the lead up.
and your dad's a big Denzel Washington fan, right?
Oh, my dad loves
He
Denzel
got he
Washington.
got the presence that something bad happened to
Yeah,
his
he said,
character and
"Wait a
woke up.
minute, my Denzel senses are tingling." Um, and then he kills Denzel, and then he reveals his identity to the to the armies or whatever, and then he's like, "We need to build a united and progressive Rome." And then I thought the movie ended, and I was like, "Thank God, I'm so tired." And then it starts back up, and this
Oh
where
no.
Lucius is in the arena
Okay.
and like reminiscing and like mourning his mother and his
Oh.
father.
Oh.
And I turned to my cousin and I went, "Can he mourn off camera?" I need to. I was so tired. So the way I'm talking about that's how it ends. The way I'm talking about this movie, it seems like I don't like it. I did like it. I would have liked it better if it wasn't 10 p.m. and I hadn't traveled all day. By the way, it was when I got off the plane. And then I ate and I went and I saw this movie. And I went to see it with my cousin and my uncle who had been up since 2 a.m. driving here. And then my dad who had just gotten done with a basketball game and drove. So we all were tired and we all saw it at 10 p.m. So
Oh my
because we all wanted to see it. So we were
god.
like, okay. Um, but yeah, it was a good movie. It was fine. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, so okay, well, I already brought it up. So so how does it work that he's the Maximus son? So
He's the heir.
they just did an
I don't know
affair?
if he just I don't know if he just gets it now or whatever. He's the heir.
Okay. No, cuz that's what I liked about the original Gladiators, that both of them, both Maximus and Lucia, what's her name?
Lucilla, yeah.
Lucilla, like they had their own families and then tragedy struck both of them and then they came together. So and he's already alive by the time that Gladiator happens, so I'm like, okay. I'm trying to think what else. I can't believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do they ever show the afterlife again or no?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the black and white thing is, whatever
Yeah,
that is.
yeah. So do they
Um,
show like at the end like
like,
Lucilla coming?
no, he hears her voice,
Okay.
but the wife thing was, like, super, like, whatever. Like, I don't know why they added her, I guess.
Yeah,
Like,
I
it
think
didn't
they
feel I don't know, it felt they just needed it to for him to be mad at Pedro, but I don't know, it was so weird, and then Pedro died so early in the movie that it was like, okay. And then, like, I liked that Denzel was the bad guy, um, but I don't know, and what really made me disappointed is that I really wanted to care about Lucius more than I did. They just kind of it made me so sad because they really just kinda, like, because I don't know, Paul Mescal is such a good actor that it makes me sad that they didn't give him much.
yeah,
Like, it
I've
was
heard
really,
that.
like what they did was, like, he was basically, like, Maximus 2.0,
Yeah.
and it was like, well, I don't I already cared about Maximus, and that's why they did it, because you already care about Maximus, so if you see somebody who's like him, who is his son, you're like, "Okay, then I care immediately." But it doesn't make me care about him enough. Like, I don't really know anything about him other than he has a dead wife, and that he's, like, mad at his mom for sending him away, and that he's a lot like Maximus.
Yeah, cuz
And,
like
like, the best moments where I, like, saw his personality come out is when he was talking to his, like, medic friend. Like, he was, like, a little funny in moments and, like, stuff like that, but I didn't really get to see that much, and
yeah,
it
I
like,
think
that made me
yeah.
really upset.
Well, that's what I think the original does a good job with because as much as I don't think Russell Crowe is like the best actor ever, at least with his character, at least in that one, you can tell that he's very much like he cares about people. He's very
Right.
selfless. you already get that, and he's gonna stop at nothing to, follow through with his promise to the emperor before him, and not before him, because the emperor that he like worked under because he was a general.
Right.
Like you were saying, like all of his motives, all of Lucius' motives gone. Cause like his wife gone, Pedro dies, and then his it just doesn't.
And then after that, it's just like after that, it's just like he does this like I don't know. He never met any of the people that he's like I'm going to like avenge or whatever. Like he always is like at the end at some point he's just like, well, I care about my mom a lot now that we've made up. So and she cares about her dad's, his vision of Rome, and he cares about like that she cared about Acacius and that she cared about Maximus. And it's just like, okay, sure, I guess. But he felt so disconnected. Like everybody else, it felt like a real like all the Denzel and Emperor stuff. That felt like a conspiracy movie. Like it felt, and then it was just like, okay, here's a gladiator fight, and here's Paul.
Yeah,
And
cause
it was just like,
like
mm,
that's what I really liked about the original, because the whole thing starts is just because the emperor's like, Russell Crowe, you should be emperor after me. I'm not giving it to Joaquin Phoenix. And Joaquin Phoenix is like, okay, I'm gonna kill you, and then blame it on Russell Crowe. So he's sentenced, almost killed. Like that's super
yeah,
interesting. Just having a character, like kind of what you were saying, like be the son of something, makes people think that like we are going to instantly be like, we like this character, we think we're going to root for him.
yeah,
But if you don't have anything else besides my wife died, then what's the
yeah.
point?
Yes, I wish he was more interesting. I cared about him. Like it worked sort of, but it didn't work enough for me to be like, this is a fully this is a fully realized human being.
Hmm.
And so then people were talking about how they might slide in a nomination for somebody, and people are talking about Paul Mescal, and I'm like, he he was good. I don't know about this,
I
guys. Like,
I think I for if from what you've told me in the reviews that I've heard, it seems the most likely would be best supporting actor for Denzel.
yeah, he was so good. He's usually good. But and then Pedro Pascal, he was not in the movie for very long. He gave so much life to somebody that we just wouldn't usually care about. Like he did the thing that he usually does where his character is just like somebody who has somebody that he's taking care of and that he loves. And he's pretty like hardened, and then he's like soft with that person. Only this time it's like it's Lucilla. You could tell he really loves her and cares about her. Like he knew like at there so the water scene or the naval battle scene, uh he Paul Mescal, Lucius shoots an arrow at Acacius because at this point he was still trying to kill him. Um and it misses him, but Acacius knows that, like, that was what was going to happen, like, he knew it was him and everything, and he still, like, afterwards was like, "I'll save him from slavery because my wife I love my wife, and that's her son," and I'm just like, that stuff is, like, interesting and, like, nice, and I feel like they just didn't give Paul enough, like, moments or anything for me to like, that instantly made me like, when Pedro died, then I was instantly like, "Oh my gosh, that's, like, horrible," because we were, like, seeing stuff like that. We got, like, one sweet scene in the very beginning of, like, Paul and his wife, and then immediately the Roman army came,
Yeah,
and it's like,
cuz
I just didn't care that much,
yeah, cuz
and that made me sad.
Yeah, because also in addition, from what I remember of the original, like we don't see him with his family, but literally he's leaving the army just to be with his family.
Right.
Like that's his entire thing. He doesn't want to be emperor. He just wants to be with his family. So his goals there. If Paul Mescal's just like, hey, I love my wife. Okay, what
Yeah.
else?
What else? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Joseph Quinn and Fred Hershinger knocked that out of the park. I would also love it if they got some hype from
Ooh,
some awards.
yeah.
Uh, they were so good. They were so good.
Yeah, I
They
forgot what
really made me be like, "You guys are insane."
Yeah, I wanna
Um,
see I forget there was something I found out recently that Fred was in, and I was like, "Whoa, good for him," and I
he
forgot what it
does
was.
he's really great. He's about to be in Craven the Hunter as well, which, that's gonna be bad, but I have to see it because it's Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm like, "Well, anything for Aaron Taylor Johnson."
Oh, he's in the Fear Street movies. Okay, that's how
Yeah,
I
he's in
know.
the Fear Street. I think he's
He's
dating,
oh, he's dating?
uh I think he's dating oh gosh, I'm gonna get so much flack if this is not true, but I thought it was him dating Victoria Pedretti.
Wait, I think we talked about this before. I feel like we did. Hold on.
Yeah.
Dating.
Yep, they sure are.
Yep, okay. I remember
Yeah,
I
and
feel
'cause when I saw it, I remember being like, "I like both of them, this is great for me." Um, alright, should we move on to Wiki oh, wait, we have to decide whether it's a pop culture high or a pop culture low. Personally, I think it's a high. It was a fun thing, and it was a good movie. Um, it had some issues, but overall, it was Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal fighting all bloodied up. That's a 10 out of 10. And I was like, "Yeah." And also that white outfit that they put on Pedro Pascal, and also Dondas the monkey.
I want a sequel to Dondas the monkey. I wanna know where
Yeah,
he
what
is.
happened to Dondas? Actually, if something did happen, I just didn't see, then sorry.
No,
But
no, I did
I don't wanna
no.
know, actually. If something bad happened to Dondas, I don't wanna know. If something
No,
good happened to Dondas,
yeah,
love that for her.
I hope Ridley Scott goes back to the whole thing in Alien where the cat like, nothing bad happens to the cat in that movie and just
Yeah.
continues to, like, just be
Nothing bad
around.
happened to Dondas. She is
Please.
so cute. It was her first role. Her name is Sherry. It was her first role, and Denzel praised her. He said that she felt like she was, like, watching, like, body language to know when to, like, hop on people's shoulders, and, like, someone was like,
Maybe
"Stop."
she should get a Best Actress nomination.
She should Donda's Best Supporting Actress. Or Sherry, I mean, sorry.
This is it's like the same campaign as the dog from Anatomy of a Fall.
Yes! Oh my gosh, her in a little dress at the Oscars.
Osc
Shut up. Oh my gosh. And she deserved her seat on the council.
She did.
Yeah.
Denzel
If Paul Mescal happens to be in charge now, then Dondas needs to be his second. Okay. Wicked.
Wicked.
Wicked. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
I did also.
Oh, yay.
Yay.
Yay. I also wrote down all the beats of the story if you
Awesome.
just want me to do that,
You
and we could talk
can. I
about
mean,
what
I'll
we
add
thought.
my commentary in if you
Yeah,
want.
and so we can talk about, like, what we thought
Mhm.
about all the stuff. Um, so at the start of the oh my gosh, I love the little title screen
It
thing.
was so cute.
It was I was like I was sitting next to my dad who knows nothing and, uh cares a lot less than everybody else who went, but I took the bullet and I sat next to him. Um, he only fell asleep once, which is a good sign.
Mhm.
Um, if you for okay, so something about my dad. When he is in a dark theater, he will fall asleep multiple times. He only fell asleep once in
W
Wicked, and I was like,
wait,
"Oh,
can I guess what scene it is?
sure." It's probably there's no correlation, I don't
Oh,
think, but sure.
okay. I
I
was
think he
gonna
just falls asleep.
because I always have a running joke with my parents because 'cause they're big Wicked fans that everyone skips over something bad or Sentimental Man, so I was just gonna make a joke about that.
Oh. He fell asleep near the beginning,
Oh, okay.
and then I, like, hit his arm, and then afterwards he goes, "I only fell asleep once, that's pretty good for me." He said, "You only had to tell me to wake up and stop snoring once." That's the problem.
That's
I don't care if he sleeps, but he snores, and I'm like, "You can't snore in a
Oh,
theater."
no.
So, I'm like, "I don't care if you sleep, but you snore."
You know what? As long as he's not sing-alonging to a theater, like, as long as it's
That
not a sing-along and he's just snoring, I'm happy
that
for
would
it.
I I was praying nobody was gonna be singing during this,
Did
during
anyone?
the like, in the theater. Yeah. I save it for an actual sing-along. I wanna
Yeah.
hear the actors
Yeah,
singing.
I heard, so I saw it with my boyfriend and my parents, and my
Mhm.
dad sat next to someone who was, like, under her breath, and he was like, "Can you stop?"
Yeah.
And the
I was
person next to
mouthing.
her was like, "You can mouth." I literally
I was
said to
mouthing, but don't sing out loud.
No.
Unless it's a designated, like, sing-along, which I will be attending, that is the time for that.
Yeah. Well, like, that's what I
It's
was
not
yeah, that's what I was saying to my dad, because I remember when Frozen came out, I went to a sing-along with him because I
Mm,
saw it first, and then I was like, "Oh, I really like the songs, so I'm gonna go to the
yeah.
sing-along and sing along." Um, so, yeah, anyway.
Okay, yeah, the movie opens, Land of Oz, citizens of Munchkin Land celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch of the West, and Glinda, tells the witch's story, born from an affair, and then, she was rejected from birth because of her green skin, she was born green, um, and then it led her to have a troubled childhood, and then, No One Mourns the Wicked plays, um yeah. I
Goodness.
um, right off the bat, I just wanna say this. I was a Ariana truther from day 1.
I was not, so I'm glad that at
Day
least you
1,
were.
and I was right.
You know, it's always good when Olivia's right. I rather you be right than
I have been a very long time Ariana Grande fan, so I knew about her history with Wicked, and from the beginning. I knew that she loved Wicked, and I knew that she's always wanted to be it so I was always like, yeah. I think that I was like, "Yeah, she's gonna be good." I also know that she was on Broadway before, like, I think that was a lot of people's, like, initial pushback was like, "Well, she's just not, like, a technical singer or whatever," and I was like, "She was on Broadway."
Yeah, no, yeah, she was. She was in 13,
She
right?
was in 13, yeah. She was in 13. I was like, she was on Broadway, she knows, like, from a child,
Yeah.
like, from being, like, a child, and that is the time where you need to learn all the technical stuff. Um, but yeah, I was just like, "I am an Ariana truther, and I know she's gonna do great," and she did.
Yeah.
Like, right off the bat, I was like, "Yeah, I was right." Um, but yeah, that's how it starts. Um, I loved it. I thought it was a great scene.
Yeah, it was very much like I I so I did see a clip of What Is This Feeling, and I was like, "Okay, this movie, like, the choreography, like, it's great." And it
Yeah.
already is one of those musicals where it's like, I already got it from the trailer that it's a musical that knows it's a musical.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, "Great. This is awesome." Like, they are all
Yeah,
singing. It is very much normalized. The choreography is right on beat with the music, which is, like, one of my favorite things is whenever choreography or sound effects are with the beats of the music, which happens a
yeah,
lot in this movie, so I was giggling in my seat. Also, speaking of Ariana's performance, I mean, obviously, like, Wicked's a stage show, so you can't really
yeah.
see the facial expressions. I thought her portrayal of No One Mourns the Wicked so good emotionally.
Yes.
'Cause, like yes,
Yes.
'cause, like, you
'Cause
can see
if you know Wicked, then that song is very different
yeah, and
than if you're just going in blind, and she played it so good, like, the subtle stuff. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was really good with that, and also hearing her talk about she took this role, like you said, like, very seriously. Like, she was like once she heard that this was happening, she was like,
Yes.
"I am gonna take classes, acting classes, all this
Yep.
stuff," and I'm like, "Good for you." Like, you know someone is passionate about something when they're like, "This is real to me, and I'm gonna make it my thing," and she did a really good job.
Yes,
So
she was so good. Like, right off the bat, like, immediately when she was coming down in that bubble, I said, "Well, I was right." I wanted to stand up in the theater and say, "Everybody, guess what? I was right about Ariana."
You come down in a bubble and
I
you're like,
came
"I
down in a
was right."
bubble. She came down in a
Came down
bubble,
in a
dog.
bubble, dog. Grow up.
Anyway, years later, um, uh, they Elphaba and Nessa, her sister, they go to Shiz. Well, Nessa is. And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then they mock her for her green skin pretty immediately. That's always what's so funny about Wicked to me. Every time I like listen, watch, think about Wicked, I'm always like, that's insane that the bullying is just like immediate. Like
Yeah.
it's just like I'm like, I mean, that's so crazy to me because I've never experienced that or like seen that to where it's so immediate. Like it's you don't even know a person and you're just seeing them immediately and being like, "Ha ha, green skin freak." like like that's crazy. um but I always think about that. But and then Madame Morrible, the dean of sorcery, is like, well, Elphaba, she has magic stuff going on, and yeah, and then she
Mhm.
shows that. I'm trying to hit just marks. I'm not
No, you're
trying to
on
get
yeah,
too
and then
into it.
she takes credit for it because she's like,
Yeah, she
"Okay."
like takes credit for it, and then is like, I want to take you under my wing, and then she like is like, okay, and then you're also gonna attend school here. I'll work it with your father, and then has Glinda is like, you guys are gonna room. And then what is this feeling happens? Or no, the wizard and I
Wizard and
happened
I.
first, which she did. Oh my
Oh my god,
gosh, chills.
amazing. If we are gonna talk about Ariana, we gotta talk about Cynthia Erivo. So good. So good.
Oh yeah, she
She
was so good. I think the thing though with that is that I knew she was gonna be good. So I
well,
feel
yeah,
like saying
I
she's good
also
is
knew
just like
yeah.
yeah, everybody had faith, full faith in Cynthia. We were like, she's got it.
But her Wizard and
Yes.
I
Oh my gosh,
rendition,
it was
so
so good.
good.
Like, everybody was talking about defying gravity, and I was like, "Everybody needs to be talking about The Wizard and I." Like,
Yeah,
that was so good.
yeah,
I had chills the entire time. I was mouthing I was mouthing along. I was having a great time.
yeah, right when
Um
I heard it, I was like, "God, no good deed's gonna ruin me." Like
Oh. Oh my gosh, no.
it's gonna ruin me. Like, based on
Oh.
her Wizard and I performance, I'm like, "Oh, no, because it's so Wizard and I is so, like, happy and hopeful. Because she's like she hasn't had anything like this, and you're like, "Oh, child, no." I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
No.
But then after they're assigned the room, that's when What Is This Feeling? Uh slash loathing plays.
Such a
Um,
good song.
so good. What the heck? Like, I was not, like, excited for that, and then after that, I was like, "I need to see it again. Replay it." What
Yeah,
the heck? The choreography?
it's so good. So good. And it's again, like I said, I love it in musicals when things happen on the beat, like, it's amazing.
Oh, that song is, like, the perfect example of that.
Mhm. It's so good. I love that song so much, and they used it so well in this, like, just it's so good. I
Yeah, it was so good.
so good.
Um, and then Dr. Dillamond, the goat professor,
Yes.
played by Peter Dinklage.
Do
He
sorry. Do I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember when the Wicked cast came out, but they still hadn't had anything for Dr. Dilliman, and everyone's like, "Dear God, please let it not be James Corden." And then when it came out that it was Peter Dinklage, everyone was like, "Thank the Lord, we can thank that like James
I
Corden's
don't
not going to
remember
be in this
that.
movie." Everyone was
I
like,
didn't
either he's
think
playing
that
the
James
wizard
Corden would
or
be in the movie at all.
which is
After the, like, waitress restaurant cancellation thing that happened with him, I was like, "I don't think he's in anything," but he's gonna be in anything. It was after he was, like, rude to a waitress at a
yeah,
restaurant.
I was trying to think if that was in the timeline of like Cinderella, Camila Cabello,
Yeah,
or
it was a while ago.
yeah, or the prom, but the prom happened I think before. Anyway,
Oh, yeah, but
Dr. Dilliman.
anyway, they're talking about Dr. Dillamond and Alphaba are talking about how, um, animals are losing the ability to speak. Well, stuff happens before that, but
Yeah, which
this is the main beats, is that
yeah,
animals are losing the ability to speak, and he's fearing that he might be next, and it's something bad is the song.
yeah,
Um,
which I think they did something really good here where they made the song not as skippable. 'Cause
yes.
it's I think Peter Dinklage's voice works really well. If people liked his singing voice, I highly recommend watch Cyrano. He's so good
Mm,
in that. But I also like that they added a lot more lore about Oz to
yes.
this. I thought it added a lot more depth, and I think that's why Something Bad works better here
You know what it
because you're
reminded me
like,
of?
yeah,
The
what?
scene. So the scene plays out, they have, like it's, like, in shadows on the wall. That is one of my favorite ever, ever, ever scenes in any, like, fantasy thing, and I know this is stupid because it's not, like, a big deal or whatever, but for me, I don't know why this always, like, struck a chord with me, but in the first Chronicles of Narnia, when Lucy meets Mr. Tumnus, and he's playing the, like, flute thing, and the shadows play, and it's, like, the story of Narnia, and I love that scene, and I love Mr. Tumnus. He is my favorite. Um,
So real.
but it, like, reminded me of that.
Yeah, it kinda gives me sorry to mention Harry Potter, but in Harry Potter and, like, the Deathly Hallows, when they tell the story of the the Deathly Hallows, like, they have, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
animation,
yeah.
and I think that just works really well, especially when you're dealing with lore or, like, stuff that's, like, not as
Yes,
story-based, and I think that also works really well because it just I think the environment that it's set in works really well, and they used that to their advantage.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then Mr. Jonathan Bailey comes into the picture. You really know he was Fiyero, but you really know that he was charming in this movie when the entire theater is giggling at everything he says. It wouldn't even be funny, and everybody was like, I was like, same. I
So
was also
real.
doing that. So
I when I found out he was casted, I was so excited because I know that he well, I know him from Bridgerton, but also I was like, "Oh, he's from Company," and he sings the
Mm,
really intense song. So I'm like,
mhm.
his dancing through life is gonna be amazing.
Oh my gosh, and it was.
And it was.
And it was. He was
So
so
good.
good. Everybody was so good.
Yeah. No,
Everybody was
but
so good in
everyone
that. Oh my gosh,
everyone.
it was so good. Ariana was, like, nailing that, like, she is in love.
Mhm.
Like, um, and then, uh, they decide to go to the ball thing.
Let's go
Um,
down to the Asda, sorry,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
ballroom.
And then Glinda well, no, and then, Bach and Nessa go
Mhm.
together,
Well,
and
yeah,
then
Glinda tells Bach to
Glinda
ask her.
convinces Bach to go do it so that she can go with Fiyero.
And then Nessa's
Um,
like, "Guess what, Alphaba? Bach asked me out because of Glinda." And she's like, "What?" And she's like, "Just be nice to her, like, please."
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And so then Glinda pulls a little joke on not funny, bullying
It's like, yeah,
on
bullying.
Elphaba and gives her the hat,
The hat.
um, the hat, the hat you've all seen.
It's from her, like, grandma, and I've seen so many memes, people being
Yeah.
like, Does anyone think that Glinda's, like, grandma is gonna look at the posters of Alphaba and be like, "Wait, isn't that my hat?" Like,
Um, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, wait a minute. Um, but yeah, and so then she shows up and everybody like, "Oh, wait, wait, wait. No." So Glinda goes, with Fiero to the ball, and then, Mrs. Morrible shows up and gives her, like, a training wand and is like, "Elphaba told me that you should be, like, in with our on our trainings and stuff," because, like, that's Glinda's, like, big thing is that she really wants to
do
major in
magic.
sorcery and, like, work under Mrs. Morrible or Doctor Morrible, whatever her name is. And, um, so then she's like, "Oh,
Shit.
uh, I she's gonna show up here in that hat and get bullied after, she just did this for me."
Mhm,
Um, so then Alphaba shows up and she gets, like, mocked, and she does this dance thing, and then
mhm.
I had to hold the tears back
Me too during this scene.
when yes, when Glinda goes and, like, dances with her. Uh, oh my god! Like, even, like, talking about it is, like, making me, like and Alphaba is crying, and it's Glinda's little when she goes, "It's okay," and, like, whispers it to oh my gosh.
And it's
I heard that that was improvised by
oh,
Ariana, and I'm like, "Stop it right now."
stop. And then also you hear the sprinkles of for good in it, and you're just like,
Yes,
"Oh!"
yes.
It's
Oh my gosh.
so good. And also
Oh
in
my gosh.
addition, such a better like, from what I remember of the show, it that scene's kinda played for laughs in the musical,
Yes.
so I am so glad that they kinda took it seriously to be like, "This is, like, Elphaba's, like, breaking moment because she thought that she had, like, an actual nice interaction." And then that also
Yeah.
turns around where Glinda, like, finally realizes, like, "Oh, shit." Like, that's actually awful, and then they
I
kind of have a
know, and then
reconciling.
oh
So
my
good.
gosh. It was like I was, like, holding my breath,
Mhm.
trying not to cry. Oh my gosh, and then Popular's next,
I love
and Popular
Popular.
was great.
I love Popular. I so good. And also I love, there's a lot of stuff I haven't realized about Wicked in a while. I love how outwardly insane Popular is because that makes so much sense with what it's trying to portray. Also, that
Yeah.
scene where she's just on the ground just going, "Wow." Amazing cinema.
Yeah. She was so good.
She was
Like,
so good in that scene. I
oh
mean,
my
she's good in the
gosh.
entire movie, but, like,
Right,
Popular
yeah,
is, like,
yeah.
her
Like,
big
Popular is, like, the moment for Glinda in this part, so it's like this is like everybody was like, "Oh, what's gonna happen here?"
what?
And like, yeah, it was so good. And then after that, Mr. Dillamond, the goat, announces that he's retiring because animals are not allowed to work at Shiz University anymore, and his replacement is doing like a live experiment on a lion, the lion,
The
in a
Lion.
cage. And then Alphaba and Fiero intervene and
Yeah, I actually really loved this because so, for context, Dr. Dilliman and Alphaba shared an interest in poppies being their favorite flower, which,
yes.
as many of you know, poppies is the flower that makes Dorothy, all these people fall asleep in The Wizard of Oz.
Yes.
So she brought poppies to give Dr. Dillman before he exited. And they do this really cool thing where instead of I think in the show, like she just freezes time. But with
Mhm.
this, she uses essentially like the poppies, makes everyone fall asleep except
Yeah,
Fiero,
except
which
for
is
Fiero.
which is a similar thing in The Wizard of Oz where the
Yeah,
scarecrow
because
does
my
it.
dad he like leaned over and he was like, "Why didn't he fall asleep?" And I'm like, "This is different than in the show." So
Mhm.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I think she just didn't. It just didn't affect him because
Yeah.
she made it not affect him.
Yeah, I thought that
And I
was
was
really
right, but
cool. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was it was
Yeah,
so good, so good.
I just really liked cuz there's this thing with like I think a really I mean, we have a whole episode about adaptations that you can check out, but I always love with adaptations that like they'll do something that's similar to it but then expand on it more to make it a little more like in depth, and I think that this
Yes,
scene is one of those scenarios where they're like, okay, in the stage show, time freezes, but what can we do on screen that they couldn't
right.
do on stage to amplify it emotionally and also visually? And I think that that's one of the examples of doing that.
Yes. And then I'm Not That Girl is yeah, it was done so well. Yeah,
Yeah, especially
they did
when
a really good job.
yeah, we didn't mention this, but Fiero and Alphaba meet in the forest where they release the line also, and that's where she sings "I'm Not That Girl." And I think having all that happen in a similar place as she like talks about her unrequited feelings for Fiero, I think works
Yeah.
really well. Also, my one of my favorite lines in the show is in the show he's riding a cart and the guy almost hits no, I think he does run into Alphaba and he goes, "Oh, maybe the driver thought saw green and thought it meant go." And I like as much as I love that line, you know what? What was it was something to do with the foliage. I think he says something
Yeah,
around
you
those
blend
lines.
into the
I'm
foliage.
like, great
Yeah.
adaptation front.
I also realized that, Jonathan Bailey would make a really good Kristoff if it was live action because the way that he was, like, giggling with his horse
Well,
and, like,
do you know about
I
the
was like,
horse? Do you know about the
"What?"
horse? The horse is the same horse that they used in Bridgerton. So the horse and
Oh,
him
I think I
already had
knew
a
that.
relationship. So they got along really well. And I was like,
Yeah,
great.
like, hi by the way, animals talk, if you didn't know.
From the
Animals
time.
talk. So the horse was talking and they were, like, giggling and stuff, and I
That's
was
so
like, "Kristoff."
Kristoff.
Kristoff and Sven. Um, but after that, Elphaba, gets well, so, um Maribel, like, sends, like, a letter to the wizard or whatever about Alphaba, and then after that, Alphaba receives, like, a personalized summons from the wizard, and is like, is like, "You come to Oz and come talk to me," and so, I love this part, but when Glinda changes her name, she's like, "In honor of Dr. Dillamon," because Dr. Dillamon couldn't pronounce her name because his lips are goat lips. Um, she was like, "In honor of Dr. Dillamon, I'm going to change my name to Glinda instead of Galinda." And it was so funny. I loved it.
Ally. Just like
Ally.
ally.
Um, so then, she's on the train and then she asks Glinda to come with her. And then it's One Short Day next.
Yes. One short day.
Yes.
Did you
And
did you hear about Ariana Grande? Um, she kept spinning she kept for I don't know if she was driving or someone else she knows was driving around the time she was circling the parking lot or circling the building that she was doing for her audition, blasting One Short Day, and she's like, "Yeah, I think John M. Chu saw me doing that." And was
that's
just
so funny.
hearing One Short Day, and everyone every time I think it was for a Wicked podcast, but they were like, "Why One Short Day?" And she's like, "Because One Short Day slaps." And I was like, "So real."
True.
So true.
True. And then we get a cameo from
Yeah.
Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth.
My theater
So my dad
clapped.
did not know, and everybody clapped in the theater, and he went, and I leaned over and I was like, they were
They were the original.
Alphaba and Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so then he was like, "Oh,
yeah, my
okay."
boyfriend went to the bathroom right before that, and then
Well,
he
they have
came
a long
back and he
part.
was like, "Why is everyone clapping?" So I had to tell him, I was like, "Yeah, those are the 2 original ones."
They
Um,
have a really long part. I think it was good.
I think it was good because it also adds even more lore, and I love it when they add more lore
Yeah.
to stuff.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Um, so anyway, then they go and they meet the wizard who is Jeff Goldblum
Goldblum.
and who refused to dance, and you could tell.
Wait, he did? That makes sense though.
I don't know if he refused to dance, but he wasn't dancing
Yeah,
because they cut to his feet and he does a little tap, and then they cut to his they like he does like a little dance behind some curtains and a silhouette is dancing.
and it's clearly not him, but it's okay.
Yes. I'm gonna interject right here. I don't know if it's gonna look like this whenever we save this download, but you are frozen on my end,
Oh
and you
no.
have been for like 4 minutes, and I was like gonna wait till it fixed itself, but I don't know if it's gonna be like that. So,
Okay,
I
am
don't
I
Yes, you're good now.
okay.
Well, now you're frozen. Oh, no, you're good, you're good, you're good. It's just
Okay.
lagging now.
Okay.
I thought it was gonna freeze again, but I think you're just lagging now. Yeah, it was frozen. Usually, whenever you lag, I just let it go because 'cause I'm like,
I do the
"You'll
same
come
thing with
back,"
you.
but it was, like, way too long, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh no.
okay." Um,
How did
back
you
to the
feel
story.
Yeah, how did you feel about Jeff Goldblum as the wizard?
I liked him. I like
Yeah,
Jeff Goldblum, though.
I do
I like
too.
when he plays characters where he is allowed to play himself, and that
Yeah.
is a perfect one where I'm like, "That can be Jeff Goldblum, and I'm fine." It doesn't take me out.
Yeah,
Like,
because
that is Jeff Goldblum.
I feel like his Jeff Goldblum, his energy works within the wizard because he has to be
Yeah,
kind of charismatic and you kinda have to believe him in a sense, so I think that just
and you
really
also
works
have
with his
he's also a little weird, and
Yeah,
Jeff
he
Goldblum's
is
a
a
little
little weird.
weird in a good
I
way.
Yeah, well, there's a sequence in the beginning about something, and Jeff Goldblum has a very distinct voice, and I just thought it was really funny for people that
I
don't
know.
know the show listening and being like, "Is that Jeff Goldblum?" I'm not gonna say what it
Well,
is
my
because
dad turned over and he goes, "Who" when the voice started, he was like, "Who is that?" 'Cause he doesn't ask me unless he, like, he recognizes, and I was like, "I think," and I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's Jeff Goldblum," and then as I was saying it, he popped up and my dad goes, "'Kay. Yeah." But yeah, the entire time I literally leaned over to my dad and I went, "He was dedicated to not dancing 'cause he did not dance once."
No.
Um, he did sing, I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it was the same thing with, Michelle Yeoh where, like, she didn't really need to sing. She just, like, because she only has, like
yeah.
she doesn't really sing in the show either, the character.
No, yeah. It
So
was
I
fine, like,
it
it
was
didn't take
fine.
me out of it or anything, it was
No, me
whatever.
neither.
Um, but anyway, she he asks her, "Is it your wish to not be green anymore?" And then she's like, "Well, actually, I just wanna help the animals of Oz." He acts a little weird about it, and then Morrible shows up, and by the way, so weird, why didn't she just go with them?
Yeah, but I thought it was really
Like, she
funny.
showed up, like, 2 seconds later.
It's just really funny because I feel like she has to kind of have this, like because as we find out later, the wizard and her are conspiring, and I think there
Right.
probably has to be, like pretend that they have a professional relationship rather than uh, like, a more personal one, but I also found it really funny how funny and also kind of, like, hard for Glinda because when she appears, she's like, "Alphaba and you." Like
It's
like,
so funny.
it's kind
Yeah,
of
I just thought it was I was like, "Why didn't she just get on the train and then be like, 'I'm gonna go to the wizard first,' and then they could have done one short day
That's
where it's
true.
them having fun." I don't know, it just, like, felt weird. I was like, "Why did she show up, like, 2
Yeah.
seconds after them
I
when
think
she could have been with them on the train?" Like, it was
she's just a
weird.
character I forget about where it's just sometimes she pops up, so now I'm just
Yeah.
used to her just popping out of nowhere.
But
So
anyway, they encourage, Alphaba to read from the Grimoire spell book, and they have her do an incantation that makes the monkey guards sprout wings, but it like puts them in pain.
Yeah.
So then the wizard and Morrible are like, "Yeah, you did it!" And then Alphaba's like, "Ooh, I don't like this."
Yeah.
Um, and so then she realizes that the wizard doesn't have any actual powers because she was like, "Why don't you just do it?" And
Yeah.
then he
Yeah,
was
they
like,
added
"I
I think this
can't."
is from the book. I might be wrong. I'm gonna read the book at some point because Alphaba and Glinda kiss in it. Not just because of that, but other reasons. But they added a lot of lore from the book, which included in one short day, they go to a performance where Adina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth
Yeah.
essentially explained that the people in Oz were given a book and it has magic spells and it's written in a
Yes.
certain language. And if you can read it, it is the chosen one essentially that can read it and is here to save Oz. So,
Yes.
but the wizard was like, came down from a balloon and read it. And then Alphaba realizes, as you were saying, he cannot read it.
He can't read it, he doesn't have any, yeah.
He's a Leah
So,
Michelle.
then he was like, "That's why I need you," and then she was like, "No, because they're the reason Morble and the wizard are the reason why the animals aren't they're losing the ability to speak and, like, being caged and stuff." What does he say? Because people need a really good
Really good.
villain or
Yeah, they
something.
need a good
Um,
common enemy.
yeah, and, so then, uh, she, like, flees with the Grimoire, and she's like, "Glenda, go get her," and convince her to come back. And Glenda, like, follows her to the attic, and she's like, "You have to come back," and yeah, and then,
Apologize.
defying gravity happens, and Jesus Christ, I was sweating, heart pounding, tears in my eyes. I stood up and my legs were like jelly after the movie because it's the last part of the movie, and oh my gosh, I was like, I don't understand. I literally turned to my dad in the middle of the song and I went, "I cannot believe that I am sitting here watching Defying Gravity on a movie screen right now." Like, I said that out loud to my dad. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is like
Yeah,
surreal." Like little 8-year-old, 9-year-old me on YouTube watching Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth like behind the scenes, like Broadway stuff on YouTube. I was like, oh my gosh." Like it was just like crazy to me. So like surreal. Like my heart was like racing.
yeah, and the buildup also was really good because, like, obviously, like, we know where it's gonna go, and the buildup is already there for us. I mean, obviously, like,
Yeah.
for when you're watching the movie, obviously the buildup's gonna help, but, like, we
Yeah.
know what's coming, but, like, they did a really good job of building up to that song
Yes,
because
they did.
because there's high stakes in that song, and
It's so good.
it's so
It's
good.
so good, and they made it look good. I was so worried that the flying stuff was gonna look stupid, and oh my god, they were, like, the best shots in the movie of her,
I
like,
thought they were so
floating.
good.
Oh my
I
gosh, they were so good.
And I love how they made it like her internal this is her character arc and
Oh,
all
we should
yeah.
probably for people who don't know what happens in Defying we were just like, "It's defying gravity."
Gravity.
For people who
Oh,
don't know
right.
what happens in
Whoops.
Defying Gravity, because it's like a plot point.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
so,
whoops, guys, sorry.
um so basically Alphaba does the flying spell, but, like, on herself, and then Glinda's like, "You didn't grow wings," and then the broom, flies up and, like, that's how she's gonna fly, and so she takes it, and then she's like, "We can go together, Glinda, come with me," and then Glinda decides not to, but I love that it's like a bittersweet
Yeah,
thing. Like, I love that it's like a, you know well, I mean, they say, "I hope you're happy," but,
but they do it in a
really,
very
it's like a, "I hope that you're happy in your decision," sort of thing, so that's what it is. Like, um,
yeah, there's like a
Alphaba
yeah.
is yeah, and so then also they've made it so that Oz knows and is aware that Glinda or that Alphaba
Alphaba.
is bad, is evil.
Yeah.
So that they're so yeah, so Oz now has has a bad guy.
As a bad guy.
um and then uh Marable is also like, well, I'm out of that. So Glinda, you're
Time
mine
for
now.
your You're my
um
propaganda machine
yeah.
now.
And so that's what happens. And that is the end of the first part. And I think in order for people to be excited about the second part, they can't market it as Wicked 2. They need to market it as this is kind of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think what they did a really good job with the movie marketing of this is being like, this is before the Wizard of Oz. This is like the prequel. And obviously us as Wicked fans are gonna know. That's like the hard thing
Right.
about marketing towards musicals. You have to find a way to market to people that aren't musical fans.
Right. I just am worried about people who don't know Wicked and they go see this first part and then they're going to the next one thinking, this is Wicked Part 2. But then they're like, it's like, yeah, but Wicked Part 2 is Wizard of Oz. Like
Let's be
it
honest.
it is Wizard of Oz. So I don't know. I'm excited cuz I love Wizard of Oz
I
though.
do
So
too.
I'm excited
My
about it.
favorite
And
songs are in Act 2, so I'm really
okay,
excited. Yeah, my favorite songs
some
are.
of my favorites are in Act 2. I like that Act 2 is significantly darker than Act
Mhm, I
1.
do too.
Um
There's something with a transformation scene
mhm.
in this part that I was like, "Oh no, for part 2 it's gonna be worse."
For
Um,
multiple on
multiple.
multiple
Well, one of them is not shown on screen, but they could make the
I was
choice
gonna say
to.
they might do it. They
Mm,
might do it.
mhm.
Um, I don't know, I'm excited. So Wicked Part 1, pop culture high, pop culture low. I think this is a
A
yeah,
high.
no-brainer. Pop culture high. Glicked as a whole, Glicked weekend, pop culture high, pop culture whole low. Yeah, not as much of a high as like Barbenheimer, but
Yeah,
I feel like people had a good time. People were going to go see both anyway.
yeah,
And it served the same purpose as Barbenheimer did, where it was like, if you're
everyone's going.
going yeah, everybody's getting something, like, even if you don't go see both movies, you can go with, let's say you have a family and half the people are not interested in Wicked and are interested in Gladiator, then you can all go at the same time and,
Mhm.
like, go watch yeah, I don't know, it's a fun time, it's a fun thing, I like the name.
Yeah, and also I think what was good about I mean, obviously, like, it's Barbenheimer, so it's both of them, but I think also in the same vein as Barbie, like, you're encouraged to dress up essentially. Like,
Yeah,
you're encouraged to wear pink, green, or paint your skin green. Like, you're encouraged
yeah,
essentially to do that. And also
yeah.
maybe for Gladiator, you dress up in
Yeah,
Gladiator
I mean, I
armor.
didn't see that. In a perfect world, we would have been more prepared and you would have I would want you to dress up, for Wicked and me to dress up for Gladiator. That was the vision in my head, but we couldn't. This is for those who are unaware of when this is being shot, this is, like, Thanksgiving week.
We
So
can't.
so it's a little hard to do things, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was the Glicked experience. That was both movies. That was our review.
Mhm.
Tell us what you guys thought about Glicked Weekend or either of the movies. If you just saw one of them, then, like, let us know. We'd love to hear your reviews in the comments or in of any of our social medias. So the links for our socials will be in the description. If you prefer to listen to this show on another platform, there are links to alternative platforms in the description as well. We also have YouTube if you prefer to watch us. Also follow Zive Media on all social platforms for more great content. We will catch you back here in Hive next week, but until then, please take care of yourselves. We've been Hives and Lows.